Dave Birkett here, along with Carlos Monarrez, and Carlos is going from off camera. I apologize about my voice. I seem to have lost it with a little sickness I'm battling here.
Let's keep this really
Could
short.
possibly be from also losing it at basketball practice yesterday, encouraging my girls, not yelling at them. Um, but I'm going to hand you the mic, I think, Carlos. I
No,
want
no.
you to do most of the talking. You
No,
don't, no?
you hold it. You've already touched
You're
it.
staying far away. You don't
Far
want to
away.
catch any germs. All right, it's Friday. We're out here in Allen Park. The big news, no surprise, but the big news: Matthew Stafford has been ruled out. He will not play against the Dallas Cowboys. Again, no surprise. He didn't practice all week. Didn't play last week against the Chicago Bears. Broken back. It's not going to heal in 1 week. So I don't think anyone expected him back. Jeff Driscoll comes in. Let's attack this from two angles, Carlos. First, how much more prepared is the Lions offense now that they have a week essentially with Jeff Driscoll taking the reps, knowing he's going to be there at quarterback? And then two, Matt Patricia said there's a plan in place for Stafford to return. Do we think Stafford should return this year? I mean, is it a case where, like, if this team loses another game or two, should Matthew Stafford just sit out the rest of the season and get healthy for more meaningful games down the road?
No, well, the first thing
You
is
can get close. I didn't get any germs out, I promise.
the first thing is with Driscoll. They always talk about, and he said this several times. The backups always say, I practice like I'm preparing to play whatever I'm going to start." That's not true. You
Right.
get when you get the bulk of number one team reps, and like Patricia talked today a little bit about the vision. Being able to see the field when you're comfortable in your position. It's just a different thing. Anybody who's played sports knows the minute that you're told you're going to start, you're going to be the guy, especially at that position, makes a world of difference. I think he had a pretty good debut. I think it was better than a C plus that some sports writers gave him.
Ouch.
So I think he showed some promise.
A? Was it an A?
I wouldn't give him an
A
A.
minus. Okay.
I would have given him like a B plus actually in
Okay.
that game. Anyway, um, so I think it helps, and I've advocated this for a long time, as you know. Don't play Stafford. That's ridiculous. I mean, but this is the team, this is the franchise that plays them in meaningless games, like season-ending games, just for feel-good, nothing games, stats, catching a two-point conversion in the end zone. Or I mean, it's just silly. Like, there's no reason. This team, I don't know when they're going to be mathematically eliminated from the playoffs. And that's fine. If you don't want to end hope for everybody and all that and save face and you got some tickets to sell too, I can understand why you might want to keep hope alive that he may return. Kind of the same thing with Kerryon Johnson. But realistically, it's not going to get better. Give him a rest. Come back next year and give yourself the best chance with Stafford.
They should have saved that 2-point play for the Raiders game this year when they needed something on the 2-yard line. But no, look.
Wow. Too soon. Too soon.
All right. On the Driscoll thing, first of all, yes. Patricia even acknowledged today that, knowing that he's going to be the quarterback, it can change how you play all three phases, right? Offense, defense, and special teams. And, I wrote in some of my preview stuff for the weekend that, you think about how the Lions played late last season, right? When Stafford was dealing with that back injury, they didn't have Kerryon Johnson, they didn't have Marvin Jones. They were just extremely shorthanded on offense. And they tried to compensate by shortening the game, by playing a different style. And I think that's kind of what they have to do against the Dallas Cowboys team this weekend that has a really good offense, is capable of putting up 31 points in the blink of an eye. And you, as the Lions, with Jeff Driscoll at quarterback and no real running game, you're not going to be able to keep up in a shootout like that. So I think you have to play differently. And that's, knowing that Matt is not going to be your quarterback going into the week, it allows you to prepare, have a more consummate game plan, I guess, in that regard.
Yeah.
As for Stafford and whether he should play or not, look, I mean, you play your best players, whether it's the end of the season or the beginning of the season or whatever. Like, just because you're in week 17 and you're on the playoffs, that doesn't mean you sit your quarterback. It doesn't mean you sit your best player. Why are you laughing at me? But the fact that he's dealing with this injury now, you want him to come back completely healthy. There's no sense rushing him back on the field. But once he's healthy, whether that's next week against Washington, whether that's on Thanksgiving, whether that's for December or beyond, I think you put him on the field. I realize he's had back injuries 2 straight years, but you can't coddle the guy. I mean, he wants to be out there playing. he, he wants to be out there playing. They need him out there playing, not just for the sake of this regime who needs to win jobs, but to give everyone else that's on the field the best chance of winning.
Look. It's just the reality with Stafford, there's so many considerations, right? And a lot of it is not on the field stuff, but it's Stafford's age, how many beatings he's taken. He's got a hip injury. Last year, it's a different back injury last year. I mean, the dude has taken such a beating over 11 seasons. He's not just a dude in his third or fourth season or whatever. I mean, there's only so much more time Stafford's going to play at this level. People just don't live forever and play forever. And Stafford he's not Tom Brady. He's not even Peyton Manning that just they're just pocket quarterbacks. They never run. They never do anything. Stafford moves around somewhat, and that's one of the reasons that he's taken some beatings. But yes, there's political considerations of, the team needs to win for this administration's sake. The ownership needs to see some wins probably. They don't want to see another, 6-10 or worse season.
Fans want something to cling on to.
But the consideration really is, when you're thinking about it, it's Stafford. It's him. It's him as a player, and he is a human. And he is going to be 32 years old.
Wow, you have a heart, Carlos. I never knew that about you.
Well, I'm a realist. I'm a realist about this stuff. When there's no point to playing in a game at the end, when the season's lost, listen, the whole thing with Matt Millen and when they traded, Roy Williams and Kitna went on IR and they went 0-16 in 2008, that was a little bit different, that was a white flag surrender and the season went into the toilet, whatever. It's different. This team has some promise. And if you put Stafford out there again and he gets hurt worse or with something else, then what does that do to his recovery for the offseason, for next season? When you're winning point, if you finish, and I know, too much is made of all this, like, hey, Bob Quinn said 9-7 wasn't good enough, and last year it was 6-10, and I don't believe the whole thing of when the coaches say, if you don't win the Super Bowl, it doesn't matter. I don't believe that. But I also think whether you finish, 7-9 or 6-10, it doesn't really matter. But you got to save your best players, and that position is unique. You cannot.
What are you saving him for? What are you saving him for? He's got 3 years left on his contract. Who knows what he's going to do next year? Who knows if you're going to be anything next year? Why do you save him? You play the game. You play to win a game.
Okay.
Well,
Herm. Okay. So he wins. So he comes back.
To win the game.
Right. So the record is, what is it right now?
Right now it's 3-5-1.
3-5-1. Okay. So let's say he comes back in a couple of games. They lose the next 2 games, whatever it is, right? And he comes back and they finish, 7 or whatever with 7 wins. Who cares? What's the difference if they win out with Stafford? Wow.
Well, what the difference could be, Bob Quinn and Matt Patricia return versus they don't. That could be the difference.
Yeah, but what do you care about that? Why does that's the reason to play Stafford?
No, but you're just saying what's the difference? I think there's a lot still riding on it. You want to look. I understand.
I look at it from the perspective of Stafford. That's what I look at.
Okay.
Now you're looking at it as you want to save Coach Patricia's job.
No, I'm looking at it as a competitor, and in sports, when you're healthy, you put your best people out there. You roll. You go to. Kind of like how we talked about on the goal line with that play against the Raiders, right? You want your best players in the game. And no matter what, you want your best players in the game. If Matthew Stafford is healthy, you want him in the game.
Right.
I'm not saying put him out there right now with a broken back.
Right.
I'm saying if the doctors clear him after he eats his Thanksgiving turkey and he's able to play all of December, you put him out there. There's no point in saving him. He's under contract. This is what he's paid to do. You put him on the field. He's your quarterback. He gives you the best chance to win.
I would say that when there's more of a realistic chance to make the playoffs. And let's be honest, that was probably what was going on. When they earlier in their season and whatever, they I'm sure this was not something that just they said it kind of the report was that after the Raiders game where he got
play I tweeted out the play. It was the scramble on their very last offensive series against the Raiders. That's where he got hurt.
Okay. So if there was something before that, we don't know, right?
And there was, right. He's been dealing with injuries all year, since last year, right? That's why the Lions gave him time off. Let's not kid ourselves about
right.
that.
And I think
but this is more serious.
I think that's the whole thing, is giving him time off, in the preseason and all that. That's being judicious. It's being careful with one of your star players who makes the offense work, right? And it was working really well. I just don't see the benefit really of winning a couple more games to put some lipstick on the pig, hey, let's come back, live to fight another day. next year. We don't want him to get hurt. And let's face it, I mean, yes, the doctors can clear him. There's a lot of gray area in the medical stuff. Like, yeah,
Okay,
he can go out there and play. Sure, he can go out there and play.
Okay.
Can he get another injury? Yeah, he could get
Why are you
another
going to play
injury.
Kenny Galladay then? He's your best receiver. He's a Pro
He's
Bowl
not hurt.
caliber receiver.
He's
So
not
what?
hurt.
He could get hurt, just like Matthew Stafford could get hurt if he's not. I mean, if he's healthy and cleared to play, he could get hurt just the same as Kenny Galladay could get hurt.
Well,
Trey Flowers, he could get hurt. He's coming off shoulder surgery from February. You just invested $90 million in him. Do you sit him for all of December?
I don't care about those guys because they're not the quarterback. The quarterback is a unique position on this team.
You don't have a heart.
No, I do have a heart, and that's why I think it's just he's the one. It's the one position. It's the one position in football where you have to have special consideration. And if he was younger, but he's. I mean, this is a litany of injuries that Stafford's had, and we like to think that these guys are superhuman. And, well, I had a back injury last year, and that's it. I'm over it. No, that's stuff lingers. If you've ever dealt with any sports injuries, they're always cognizant. They're always making sure they're getting treatment for it. It's just, yes, the whole thing of can they get hurt by something else? Sure. But this injury, it's not just, hey, if he gets cleared, it's not like, man, it's 100%. Perfect, you're fine. You start at zero. It's okay. Start all over again. No, it's like okay, it's tolerable. It's healed. There's the fractures are somewhat healed, and with bone injury, I had a fractured tailbone. That thing took a long time to heal. Could I have
Somebody kicked your?
It was a soccer injury. I fell down.
Okay, and I had a.
Could I have gone out there and played soccer? Sure, I could have. Could it have gotten a lot worse by taking another spill? Yes, it could have.
So you decided to never play again, or what? I mean, I broke my ankle, and same thing. Like, I came back as soon as I could because I wanted to be out on the field. It's not like I was going to play in the NBA or something like that. It's just you want to get back out on the field, on the court, on the whatever. You want your best players on the field. When Stafford's healthy, put him out there.
When my intramural team suffered because of my fractured tailbone, yeah, I'm sorry to them. I apologize to that team from whatever 1991. It depends on what's riding on it. I mean, it's pride. Yeah. Well, when I was on the wrestling team in high school, yeah, I dealt with injuries and I competed through them. Because it mattered more, right? But there were some things where, are they going to get worse? Can they get a lot worse? Is the likelihood to get, he's going to get sacked. I mean, guys get taken to the ground all the time. I mean, it's not good news. I just don't see the benefit. But, hey, roll them out there, win, 6 games. They match 6 and whatever, close to 6-10, and then we can call it good, right? They didn't take a step back, and that'll be fine.
6-9-1, they would actually take a step forward. Half a step forward, I guess.
Half a step forward, right? And that'd be good. And that's the accounting of pro sports of holding coaches and general managers accountable. But I think this year, well, my personal opinion, I don't know how you feel, but
you know how I feel.
They get a pass. If Stafford doesn't play the rest of the year, you get somewhat of a pass. Are you going to hold them to the same 6-10 standard of last year with Jeff Driscoll?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, I mean, look, if they don't win another game or if they go 5-10-1 or something like that, that's a terrible season. And
with your star quarterback,
I don't care. You shouldn't have lost these games earlier. Mama Ford's not going to be happy about that. I mean, like you think going 5-10-1 and you can make an excuse. Oh, give me a minute. We didn't have Stafford. Yeah, it's absolutely right. You didn't. But guess what? I don't care about that at the end of the day. I want to win. I mean, that's just the bottom line.
You think the Ford's going to look at it the same way?
I don't know how.
What's your guess? Educated guess. You've been around a long time.
Yeah, I don't think they have the appetite for another 6-10 season. I've said that all along. I mean, I was told that a long time ago. I don't think they have the appetite to go through a 6-10 season, and I don't care how it happens. I mean, it's certainly more understandable when you don't have your quarterback. But who's to say they were going to win last week anyways with Stafford playing? Who's to say they're going to beat the Cowboys anyways? I mean, that's just an excuse that we don't have our quarterback. You're right, but guess what? You also had lost, 4 of your last 5 games before Stafford got hurt. So, you know what? Take care of business when you have the opportunity to. Don't put yourself in this situation. I don't know. I mean, it's something that the Ford family will have to weigh that into consideration, but that's why I say I think it's important that they get some wins here down the stretch.
I think that, it's going to be interesting. One thing that's the Fords like Stafford. I mean, he's
because he's got Ford in his name.
Yeah, Stafford. Yeah, he's he's a favorite child in this organization. He's done a lot. He's played through a lot. The offense is playing
Drives
really
a Ford
well.
truck in those commercials too.
Absolutely, it's beautiful.
Pink car seats.
Yeah, he's done a lot, and so he, the thing is that the question is, and this is where Stafford is going to maybe have some say here, is at the end of the season, if they finish worse than 6-10, and it looks bad, the thing is, he's played well under Darrell Bevell. Matt Patricia hired Darrell Bevell. Can you get rid of Matt Patricia and not Darrell Bevell?
Look,
Stafford has advocated for Jim Bob Cooter. I'm sure he would advocate for Darrell Bevell, and there's no reason to break them up. But are you going to sweep Patricia and the next general coach who comes in? You're going to say you're inheriting your OC.
I'm not saying anybody's gone
It's so
right now.
complicated that way.
All I'm saying is
You're saying you wouldn't tolerate it.
Yeah, I wouldn't tolerate
You don't think
it.
the Fords will either. They don't have an
right.
appetite.
But listen, I don't think you don't make a move because you're scared of something. Like, great, he's playing good. You know what? He played good under Scott Linehan.
They're scared of everything.
Yeah, they shouldn't be. He played good under Scott Linehan before. He played good under Jim Bob Cooter before. He's going to play good again in the future at some point. So you don't not make a move because you're scared of something. Well, guess what? We got this part fixed. If you got it fixed the right way, then it should be good going forward, no matter who's calling the plays, no matter who's doing what. It's
You're saying the coordinators don't matter?
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying if you think that Stafford is fixed, or if you think that he's doing the right things now, there's no reason that he can't do this under a different coordinator. There's no reason that if you're going to trust, if you think you need to make a change at coach or whatever, and you're going to trust that head coach to come in and build the program, right? You're entrusting this guy to build the program. You're entrusting him to hire an offensive coordinator to have a good offense. So why would you not trust him to bring somebody in who's going to get the best out of Matthew Stafford? Like, Stafford's playing really good, but guess what? He's had better seasons in his past. 2011, he was fantastic in 2011 when he had all those comebacks the couple years ago, and that wasn't all just him, but he played. You like to say that Pete Schrager and I were leading the MVP cause for Stafford. He had a pretty good year that year, right? So it's not like we haven't seen this version of Stafford before. He's playing good football, and who knows? Maybe whoever would want to come in would want to keep Darrell Bevell. I mean, all I'm saying
just like
is
Jim Bob Cooter, yeah. Just like Patricia wanted to keep Jim Bob Cooter.
And again,
it's the same thing.
I'm not advocating anybody lose their job. I'm not advocating anybody lose their job right now. I'm just saying that if this season spirals down from here on out, that's something that I think the Fords would have to keep on the table. And I don't think you don't make a move just because, well, he's doing well under Darrell Bevell, and we got to give them another year just because Matthew Stafford got hurt. Those are not reasons to not make a move. You have to look at the bigger picture of everything when you make these sort of decisions.
In theory, I agree with you. I do agree with you, but I think there'd be a lot of consternation if they did make a big move. They get rid of everybody, including Bevell, and then the offense suddenly takes a turn. Like, whoa. The offense was not good under Jim Bob
Negative
Cooter.
Nancy. What if it?
No, it's what you've seen. It's facts.
What if it becomes the best offense in the history of football? I mean, I don't understand why do you think
hope
everything
is not
negative?
A good strategy.
It's not a good strategy. No, we've heard that from coaches before.
I think the problem is when everybody always thinks, right? Jim Caldwell was going to come in here and Stafford's going to be his Peyton Manning, right? He was going to fix him like he fixed Joe Flacco, lead him to a Super Bowl, whatever, right? The NFL always looks backward and like what happened recently? What's the recent history? All right, let's hire that person, But you have the recent history right now is Darrell Bevell, and it's not just. I've been impressed with Darrell Bevell's play calling. I think it's more than just like, well, the offense is just. I think the play calling matters, and I like.
They got a really good run game, don't they?
Well, Kerryon Johnson is on the shelf.
They had a really good run game before Kerryon Johnson got hurt, didn't they?
It was okay. It was trending upward. It wasn't great.
Sure.
But the offense was functioning well, scoring points, getting yards. I mean, you're never going to have it perfect, right? And I do think they haven't invested enough in the run game. I think they should continue to do that.
Taylor Decker, Frank Ragnow.
Running backs.
Graham Glasgow, third-round pick, Rick Wagner, T.J. Lang. They certainly haven't invested anything in the run game.
In the offensive line, but not the run game specifically. The running backs.
Was a second-round pick.
I know they need to do more of that. I think teams now, a lot of teams just think, hey, we got our second-rounder, high first-rounder, or whatever, low first-rounder, in the 20s, we're good. That's it. No, you got to keep going. You got to keep replenishing. Those guys get hurt, as we see. They get hurt all the time. You got to keep replenishing that stock. And when you find your horse, then yeah, you're lucky. You get your Adrian Peterson, you get your Ezekiel, you get your those guys, Todd Gurley's. But until you get something like that, man, you got to keep feeding that supply. Anyway, we're off topic.
We are way off topic.
Let's go with our picks. You're gonna get me sick.
I know I am, especially since we're sitting in this confined little room here. It's like Contagion or whatever, right?
I'm probably gonna be sick. I probably won't be there on Sunday.
All right, me either.
Okay.
So yeah, we'll get back to all this stuff. This is all stuff to talk about over the final 6 weeks of the season. I think all these topics, they could be on the table. So it's something that we will discuss later as we figure out what happens with the Lions going forward. If Jeff Driscoll can lead them to a couple of victories, if Matt Patricia can get this thing turned around, if Matthew Stafford comes back. But right now, we'll end it.
On the record, Martha, Sheila, Steve, if you're listening, I give you a pass. If Stafford doesn't, I give Patricia a pass. If Stafford doesn't play the rest of the season, good. Save him for next year, and you get a pass. I'm sorry, but that's just the way I'm going to read it. You're going to read it another way, but that's the record. Because they watch these videos.
Oh, Carlos, we're going to have to talk about this again. All right, so let's wrap it with our predictions for the game. Again, Jeff Driscoll going to start at quarterback against the Dallas Cowboys. And look, frankly, like I said earlier, I just don't think the Lions have enough offense to keep up with the Cowboys in this game. I know it's back at home. The Cowboys, they've statistically very good on defense. They've been a little bit up and down. They've lost to most of the best teams on their schedule. We saw last week where they just couldn't get off the field for a couple of those really long drives against the Vikings. The Lions just don't have the running game to do something like that. I think Jeff Driscoll was fine as a quarterback, but, he led them to one late touchdown drive, essentially. They need to get in the end zone. I don't see them doing that enough. I have the Cowboys winning 31-17.
Wow, 31-17. Okay. Yeah, I don't believe in the Cowboys really that much because they have one quality win. They have one win against the above 500 team, the Eagles. That's it. Yeah. But I think it's a little closer. I think the Cowboys are going to win. I'm going to call it, I'm going to say 27-21.
Okay.
Cowboys.
Do you give the Lions any shot of pulling the upset here? You think this is a game that they can win at all?
The only reason I give them an upset is because I don't believe in the Cowboys. I just don't see them as a, mentally tough team, I guess. I don't know. They just seem, the Cowboys they're just classic chokers. They just don't get things done. Of course they do beat the Lions. That's one thing they do pretty well. But I just don't believe in them. I don't trust them. The NFC East is really weak this year. That's who they've beaten up on, really. So there's a chance. Listen, the thing with, like we saw with Driscoll, right? A week to prepare. I thought he looked pretty decent last week. With a week to prepare, he's a mobile quarterback. He's got a pretty strong arm, nice, fairly okay accuracy. I think a lot of those passes last week, and I don't think a week's going to fix this, but it's just the timing with his receivers, not knowing how fast Marv crosses or whatever it is.
Certainly something to that. No, I agree. Not having the practice with him, I think that's part of it.
And if they get, as you said, CPR, right? If they need, if they get some turnovers, if that
club
defense,
punch and rip, CPR.
Club punch and rip, Freak.com. If they get that, I think if the ball bounces their way a couple times, they can be in this game. There's a chance. But the run game, we don't know about Ty Johnson. He returned to practice today, right? We don't know if he's still going to be out because of concussion. But if they can get something out of their run game, which I think, again, Darrell Bell's done an okay job sticking with it. It hasn't been great, but they have to respect it. That opens up the play action and the passing game, blah, blah, blah. So there's a chance. What do you think? Do they have a puncher's chance?
Nope. This is Cowboys are winning
31-17.
I don't think there's much of a chance. Lions defense isn't very good. They can't stop the run. The Cowboys have a very physical offensive line. The Cowboys are going to put up some points. The Lions are not. So that's my 2-cent analysis right there.
No chance.
That'll do it for us here. Freep.com, Facebook Live. I don't know. Is this thing being podcasted yet? That's why they gave us this fancy microphone.
Is that even connected to anything?
I don't know. Who knows? Yeah, it's got a red light on the bottom. For Carlos Monarrez, I'm Dave Birkett. Sick Dave Birkett. Freep.com.